Hey, this is Brad Dyke reaching out to say hi. I hope you guys are having a great time. This is my software, or actually in this case, it's going to be more of a discipline area video in regards to out-processing hardware that you might have had out there. If you're smart about it, you'll just not simply power it off and throw it in the trash can. That's not good, that's not recycling, that's not trying to repurpose. What you should do is, at least at a minimum, get it to a nonprofit organization. Now, they'll either use it for their own requirements, like a school system, or a college, or even nonprofits like churches who are in need of a good server to handle all their data. If they have got the resources, it's a great thing to have available. I always promote that if a machine works just fine and it's just aged to a certain degree, it's still working just fine. So find a purpose for it. So with that, I'm going to be talking about disk arrays and chassis arrays and the steps you do to decommission them to make sure that everything is operational. The very first thing you do in this is to power the unit up. We're not going to do that here. I'll do it in the background. It takes time to do that, and I don't want this turning into a 3-hour video. But you power the unit up, make sure the fans spin up, make sure that all the fans come up, the PDUs come up correctly. The distribution units are reporting green, not red or yellow, and basically cover the basic LED light ups. Once you're done with that, power it off, and then now you're ready to do your stuff. So here we go. Okay, so we're going to start here with a disk array. Now this disk array is a SAS 2.5-inch drive footprint device, and what we're going to do here is we're going to check every one of these drive bays to make sure that they're empty. And that's important because you'd be amazed how your data pops up on someone's radar because you haven't done the check to make sure that all your gear is out, right? So we'll do that now. Now I had already checked in my previous video this side, so this shouldn't be a problem. But pretty much all the disks are missing, and that is good. Now what I'm doing now is it's called stacking the array. That means we're securing the disk caddies, even though they don't have disks in them. You just can't let them kind of hang out or they'll pop out independently. You don't want that. And I'm not a person who will go off and sell one of these for like $5 a piece. Even though in some cases I did pay that. Having a fully populated disk array, number one, is going to sell it better on eBay. And number two is just right, in my opinion, because I'm not a big fan of hunting down parts and pieces. Now, the second component is going to be your controller bus interface. Now look at this. You see the interface here? Now this is your bus controller set. It has your SAS interface and it has your heartbeat guide on it as well. Now these heartbeats will not work unless you have a complete disk, a Clarion array or a VMAX equivalency. But you have them, and as you can see here, this is a distribution PDU unit, which is just below the head controller of the left channel on this side of the chassis itself. So why am I taking these out? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to inspect them to make sure you don't have any dirt or buildup inside them. Now you've already done the power test cycle, so these LEDs would report as green for your PDUs. Very important. Secondly, and this happens a lot, sometimes you'll do this yourself, but if you look here, a lot of times the manufacturers or the data centers that have them will have damaged ports. Now you can very carefully straighten these back out. This is the reason why they get rid of the disk arrays, because they've damaged them when they're feeding cables. And if you know anything about installing NetApp arrays, it's pretty monotonous. You're just constantly pushing in units over and over and over. Now on this 2600 array, the other key important detail you need to understand is that there are two sets of controllers. That's right. So two sets of controllers mean that you have dual pathing and redundancy. And the same thing is very important here. This is another problem that people do. You shouldn't do this. Is they'll have a bad controller and they'll have a good controller. Can you run with a single controller? Absolutely, you can. But you're not going to get the full NetApp functionality if that's your mission statement. To put it onto, like I said, a Crayon chassis or something like that. And again, here's your CPU. I'm sorry, your PDU, your power distribution unit. It's your hub, and it has everything it needs, including the power plug-up and the switch, control switch, as you can see. And you've tested this already, so this should not be a problem. So at this point stage, we know that this unit is good. Also check in the back, you'll have these spring locks that are supposed to collapse when you're pulling the controllers out. Sometimes those are damaged and they can cause problems. So it's just go in there. It's really easy to fix them. They just have a small spring latch that sometimes gets bent. Straighten out that latch and you're in good shape. Okay, now we're going to put these controllers back in. Okay, so now that we've got the disk array process out of the way, and that disk array was empty, and I'll do the same thing to the 3-par as well. It's also empty. But first we're going to start off next with our little trusty 720. Great box, by the way. Excellent box. Still has lots of life left in it. It's just been awesome. I've been very, very pleased with it. It doesn't like SSD drives very much, but if you go to an independent disk array like I did, you can run them just fine. There's no issues. But this guy is your home base. And if you look at the back, you have peripherals in this. And in the front, you have disks in it. 1 terabyte drives for a sum total of 24 terabytes. Throw in the extra, and I've got over 60 terabytes of capacity between the array and this unit. But we're going to retire it. So we've already done the power test, so we know our PDUs are good. And I always, just because it's a pain in the butt to do, I always make sure that I have both power supplies in place. Believe it or not. Is that right? No, it's not right. Okay. Sorry. There it goes. All right. Okay, so now what we'll do is we're going to take the cover off, and I'll give you a close-up. And in this chassis, I have discs here, 2 of them. I have a SAS bridge card. I have USB 3.0s over here. I have dual processors, a pile of memory, which is valuable. There is my SAS controller, and a fully populated unit of discs here. But I'll remove all of these discs, empty out the caddies, and just put 2 or 3 in here in its place. And I'll probably use the back chassis for that, for booting up, so that this can basically continue to function. Now this is a Dell DX720. It's a great box, like I said. It's done me wonderful stuff. Here are the boot caching drives, and here are the rest of the drives for capacity. And I bridged out because I wanted this channel to be isolated from all the other ones. And over here, I've got my setup, of course, right? And it's basically pretty clean. There's a 10 gigabit NIC down there. And if you look over here, there's also an additional set of NICs over here as well. So we're going to depopulate this, and this is how you do it safely. So the very first thing you do, if you notice this green mat in the background, this is a static dissipation mat. Anyone who knows their worth about electronics knows that even though electronics are fairly flexible and capable, they are very much at risk. So you have to be very careful about handling static electricity. Take the time, make sure you dissipate your charge by touching it, and always keep it in the clear. And by doing that, it will keep everything in a good place. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start depopulating these bus card sets. Start pulling this out. And there is the LS9300. There is the 10 gigabit NIC right there. I actually have an older type class that will fit on this just fine, so I will probably end up doing that. Next, I am pulling out the 2 sets of cards, the USB 3.0 right there, and also the 10 gig Intel server card. Now that card is a great card, by the way, not to be misunderstood. Now also take the time and put fillers into the spots you empty, because that's just not right to the people that you would give this to if you don't properly air control that ventilation. So you get your trusty load of air caps. And you put them in. So now it is back to normal. It is secured, and it is in a good place. Except for that one, it just did not fit right for some reason. Now it does. Okay, good. Yeah, so now it's not crooked. And of course, your leash lock. And we'll put this back here where it belongs. And this bus is in the clear as well. And this one is depopulated. So what I'm going to do next is grab something really quick. So we're going to get a tool. And this tool is required because we've got to take this memory card out. This unit card out. Okay. Alright, so the 10 gigabit has the 2 GBIC configurations and the 2 1 gig connection interfaces. Now I will replace that with the quad 1 gig data card in its place. And I've got to reach over there and pull that out from the storage locker. Now, I also have the TrueNAS boot drives, which we'll pull out. And there's another one. So the back bay is now empty. Okay, I see it's wrong. Okay. Have to check this to make sure it's fitting right. Okay, now I'm not going to remove the SAS controller, and I'm not going to remove the CPUs or the RAM. Now what I might choose to do later is I might double up all the RAM from both chassis into one chassis to make a pretty big, huge RAM drive style entity, which would give me about 164 to 224 gigs of RAM. But for now, I'm going to leave that in place. Now, as you can see, I have a lot of disks here that I have to work with, but I'm not going to depopulate them. What I am going to do instead is I am going to remove them completely from the array, because they're going to transition over to another array, a new one, because it's still usable disk. Now I know a spinning disk is what it is, it's spinning disk, but if you have it, don't waste it, right? Because it's valuable. So in this particular case, this chassis is ready. It has all of the principal cards removed. It's properly ventilated. It's properly sealed back up. Next thing I'm going to do is remove the discs in the front. I'm not going to care how they take shape. Believe it or not, I'm not. And I've done a lot of work with these chassis over the years. And when you've got this many disc arrays, I'm sorry, with this many disc caddies, and you're using a similar chassis design, just transition the discs over. That's what my suggestion would be. You'll have a few leftovers, and that's okay, because leftovers can be repurposed, right? Right. So I'm going to pull these guys out, continue to pull them out. And don't worry, these 1 terabyte and 600 gig drives are excellent for booting operating systems up. Just make sure that you never do any of this kind of configuration, in this case, without using redundancy. For all you new puppies out there, you call it ZFS rating. For all of us classicals out here, we call it RAID controllers and RAID groups. Definitely RAID 1 or RAID 5. Don't make that mistake. So now what we've got here is a clean chassis. I'm going to pull out this blank as well. And the disk caddies will be transitioned away. Here's an SSD drive. And I couldn't use that SSD drive, by the way, for anything but caching. It just doesn't recognize SSDs correctly on the onboard SAS controller. They specifically type class those controllers for SSD as high performance memory caching. And that's how it treats everything. So this chassis is ready to be retired. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down, and then we're going to bring up an HP, a brother of this one, that was kind of in the same rough time period, a Gen 7 HP Reliant 380 chassis, which actually it's a Gen 8, because I took the 8 out, I put it in a 7 chassis because they were still compatible. Okay, something's not guiding. I hate these lids. They don't go in just right. They don't catch correctly. What a pain. Oh, you're not going down at all, are you? Alright, give me a second. Am I in place? Yeah, that's good. Oh, I found it. Alright, we're good now. So as you can see, the chassis is devoid in the back, just as power supplies. And over here, it's empty in the front. And there's plenty of gapping and spacing. And here you can see the channels. These are the individual channels that the RAID controller will break out these disks into groupings. So I'm going to go ahead and put this over here again, and I'll bring up the HP chassis. That is not light, let me tell you. Okay, let's get this realigned correctly. And now we will bring up Now, HPs are a little different. They have a different kind of structure, and they require a very serious pain in the butt special screwdriver so that you can properly release it. Right? Okay. So, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and open this one up. And just so that you can see this one, let me go ahead and move some stuff here real quick. I'm going to free up this area here. Just need a second here. I'm going to clear out some space here so I can properly set these guys up. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at the back again. And as you can see here, it is and does have peripheral devices in it. And, it only has one PDU in it. That's okay because it was a test bed. And those particular PDUs are not the greatest in the world, in my opinion. But it works really well. I've done a lot of work with this. This was another scavenger hunt chassis. And if you want to look at the front, this is a great server for beginners, because as you can see here, it can house 12 sets of 2.5-inch drives, and it's got call logic in the front, very easy to work with, VGA output, USB 2.0. That's the part that sucks, but that's okay because it's an old chassis. So now we're going to take a look at the inside here. And this chassis is a different kind of beast. It has what's called a logic bus array. And this is an array because it actually has 3 separate bus sets in it, or an array of buses. So what we're going to do here is we're going to open this up. We've already done the power test. We know it's good. PDU is right here. And we're going to go ahead and start releasing the... I'll pull this down a little bit farther. There you go. Releasing the control locks here using the special screwdriver, which is nothing more than torque screwdriver, by the way. It's just they make a big deal out of it. Alright, and then over here, alright, and we're going to release the channel locks. Come on. Picky. Okay, so now we've got ourselves set up. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to gently raise the array base. And there they are. There are multiple buses in multiple configurations. There is a oldie goldie right there. I don't know if you can see this here. I'm going to bring it a little closer. It is a disk array. I'm going to disconnect the interface set here. And there's a battery right here for it. But here's a close look up to it. You've got a Series P4 with the triple redundancies. And you've got another controller right here, which is also a SAS controller. And then you have a 10 gigabit NIC right there. And you can see it here on the underside. So we're going to depopulate these so that we can remove them. This is a house. See how big it is? It's huge. It was a good card in its time. Hang on a second. Change that around. That does not want to come up. Come out of there. Alright, well, the release lock is stuck for some crazy reason. So we will unstuck it. Alright. There it is. It's a small little piece of plastic, guaranteed to give you headaches. Now be careful with this. This is a SAS controller. It's a highly dense, condensed based SAS controller. In comparison to its older predecessor, quite an improvement, right? And it is connected with battery, so it has power. So be careful with it. So, now that leaves the 10 gig NIC. It's got a little NIC. This one's an Asus 10 gigabit card. And I'll put that down. And I will get some tray locks for this. And for this too. Okay, so I'll put him in. Okay, that's done. And I'll put you in. And you in as well. Okay, oops. Nope, didn't work. Hang on. Let's do that again. Didn't catch correctly. For some stupid, crazy reason. Okay. Oh, there it goes. So here we have this part latched down. Right here, and I've got these caps back on, and very quickly this device became nothing more than a piece of metal with a multi-split bus on it. What are you popping out for? Get back in there. All right. Huh. That sucks. Let me do something real quick. Make sure that stays in place. Alright. So, as you can see, we're going to put this back in. Make sure it's sitting correctly on the bus. There it goes. Make sure that everything flushes out correctly so that you can screw it in. And you want to put the two outer screws in first, and that will make the center one align better. Now remember, this still has NICs down here and everything, so it's still fully functional. It just doesn't have the high-end network interface card and the high-end SAS card. Okay. So that leaves us to review the chassis. Let's take a look, make sure everything is good. And of course we did the power test already, so we know that's in good shape. And here is our, this is a CMOS battery, we know that works. And it's a chargeable battery, which is important. And of course right here is the RAM section. And I'm gonna not probably, I think I'm gonna leave that in there because I remember that was a pain in the butt cable to take out. So I want to make sure everything, I do know the processors work, there are two of them. And it's a 380 platform. And I'm going to put the tie restriction rod back in. And all the fans have been already checked, because I do that regularly. Very good condition. Could you buy this and sell it in parts and pieces? Absolutely you could, but I wouldn't, personally. Now that just leaves now, I'll go ahead and put the lid on it, so I can handle the discs. I have to look at those chassis to see if this kit have anything in them. Pops together a lot easier than the Dell does. I hate to say it, but it's true. Okay, so I'm going to pull the hard disk out. I have empty caddies. As you can see, I used it a lot in testing. Now what I will do, just like with the other unit, I'm going to put 2 drives back in, and they'll act as the boot drives with an extra caddy, a spare caddy basically. And since everything is front loaded on this chassis, you're not going to get the compacted functionality of the Dell 720, but like I said, these discs, the nice thing about the HP is it doesn't care what type of drive you put in it. You can put SSDs in, you can put anything in. That's not a problem. With that being said though, it is somewhat of a, how would you say, a problem child in a certain way, because it is it's a 3 gigabyte bus for the transfer rates. So even though it gives you some really great returns, not really, I hate to say it, that's the truth. So I'm going to put 2 of these drives. Let's see, this is a 500. That's a 500, yeah, this is fine. So I'm going to put these 500 gig drives in here to boot with 2 spare caddies, and I'll take care of it. Now the residual caddies and all of that I'll put into my stockpiles, because I still have other HPs that I've worked with, and I like them, so I'll keep the disk arrays themselves. But this one is ready, and it's ready to be retired. And that just leaves us one last unit. And that is this god-awfully heavy 3-part. Now the 3-part, as you can see in the back, has its controller base, its PDUs, and over here it has its disk arrays. Now the disk array is unpopulated from disks. We already checked that. So we're gonna we're not gonna take these out. We're gonna leave them in. There are a couple of blanks in here too. There's one right there. There's one right there. You know, everything on the front is past the red, green, yellow test. So what we're gonna focus on here is going to be the back end. Okay. So this array has a rocker switch set here, and you've got your PDU output here, and it's going to basically pull out enough to let you take a state check on it, and it looks good. Let's do this one over here. Yep. Okay, that's good. Now, I want to make sure that there's nothing. Okay, that's good. All right, so push that back in and let it lock in. I'll do the same over here as well. Now, what's bad news about 3-pars. As you see these little metal flanges here, these little metal flanges get damaged because the idiots who work with them don't understand that it's a very flexible metal. And so when you're working with that, you can really easily break this stuff. So now what I'm pulling out is the 2x2 channel SAS controller set, A and B channel. And as you can see here, you've got your SAS pairs. And being HP, they try to trick you a little bit because your pathways to here and so on are confusing. Truth of the matter is, it's not. They just make it like it is, and it's, you just use a single paired controller interface, and you can use this just like any other disk array. That's one of the big headaches I had with these things, because this thing screams like a mother when it doesn't get set up exactly the way it likes. So I figured out how to do it in a way so that it would not be in such bad shape. Okay, so let me see here. And then, now if you notice, no bending. All the heads have been checked, and so there's no damage to them. Make sure you check that before you want to give this to somebody, because when they put their own cable SAS interfaces in them, you got to understand that SAS cable adjusters are very big. So what ends up happening is people put the wrong kind of gear in, thinking they have the right gear, but it doesn't plug up. Okay? And because it doesn't plug up correctly, as you can see here, they try to push it in. They try to force it into its place. But it doesn't work that way. Hang on a second. When you do have the correct cable set, it plugs up just fine with no resistance whatsoever. So as you look at these different kinds of configurations, here's a great example. That is not this. See that slot there? If that slot is not present, you're not going to be able to bridge your connections. See? And there's a release lock right here that lets you pull it out in the clear. So I use very little force to do that, but when you find these damaged, you can understand what I'm talking about. When it's like, hey, wow, that's a lot of force to make that happen. So replace the controller. So this controller set is good to go as well, and it's ready to go into storage. It does work fine. I mean, it works great, especially on a single channel path. And what I do basically is I come through here, tag over here, go down to here, and continue on. And these multiple channels back here up at the front will be able to properly feed it the right way. And it won't give you error logs and error alerts like it does when it says, where's my dual paths? And dual pathing means that you've got a controller here on your A channel, and you got a controller here on your B channel. And these guys close a loop 2 different directions. But with a standard SAS controller, you just need a single pathway. You can loop the pathway back, but you don't want to have dual pathways. Okay, so you're not an enterprise. You're not an enterprise entity. You're not trying to do high redundancies and things like that. So with that being the case, I think we're pretty much done on the pre-config setups. The checklists, the pre-config checks, as in you're checking to make sure your red, green, yellow is all green, and your pre-check sets are also related to the PDUs, the controllers. Make sure you have no disks in this unit, and so on and so on. So with that being the case, I'm going to go ahead and say that this particular process of cleanup and elimination is done. So we've got all this stuff taken care of. And like I said, if somebody's interested in it, let me know. I'm going to probably look at donating them to probably one of the local colleges for their IT departments, something like that. But all in all, these are been great for me. I don't throw things in the trash. At the worst case scenario, if it's really old and it's dead and it's not coming back, I'll send it to Goodwill to recycle the metal. But outside of that, everything else is pretty much in the clear. And I've got free space in my rack now, and I now can plan new projects, right? And to prepare for the next whatever. And in this case, I'm trying to figure out how I can do a quantum simulation process, where I can use like three sets of core processors for a total of probably 9. That's 9 sets of 3 cores to simulate the trinary code of a quantum computer. That's something I've been interested in trying to see if I could do that. What would it take logic-wise to make that accomplish? All we're doing is staging stuff. I'm not looking for speed, because obviously we're nowhere near going to be as fast as a real quantum computer, but we can run the environment in a restricted structure and actually get successful test coding. That would be really cool, wouldn't it? Always been interested in that kind of stuff over the years. Well, this is Brad Dyke signing off. God bless, and I hope you guys have a great week. Take care.